Hello everyone, I am McAllik and welcome to the channel. Today we are going to be doing an unboxing video. I know I'm a bit late compared to some of the other channels out there, but this just arrived 2 days ago for me. And as you can see, I am moving again. So for those of you who have seen my face before, hello, it's been a while, hope you're doing well. And for those of you who hadn't seen me before, here I am. My hair is very long and I am very white. And without further ado, let's see what is inside this box from Wizards of the Coast with the new SpellJammer setting. Alright, this is my first time doing any kind of unboxing video, so forgive me if it's not perfect. So I'm just going to be winging it. So today we have the new SpellJammer kit that Wizards of the Coast just re-released for 5e. I do plan on covering the changes they're doing with D&D 1 and then the return of the DragonLance setting, but that's going to be something for a different day. I've been off the grid for quite a bit. Things have been really busy here. I'm starting to move again, work, all that jazz. But anyways, here we go. We're going to start opening this bad boy up. All right. The box is now made with less material. Okay. Put this down real quick. Oh, this is heavy. This is actually pretty hefty. Oh my goodness. I mean, I've never actually bought a set before. I have some old, like, original D&D boxes that were given to me a long time ago, but you know, they're super old and falling apart. But I mean, look at this thing. Actually, no, let me get all of this gunk off of it. Put this away. Use that box for later. All right. Now let me go ahead and try to gently get this off so we can see it better. Do not scratch the books. There we go. There we go. Must try not to shake the table lest this camera fall. Awesome. This is tight. Okay. Get it off. Toss that to the ground. Put away the trusty knife. Right. And oh, this is a slip sheet. Okay, so let's look at this first. Set sail for the stars. Of course, the pictures, everything included. Home of the stars and gateway to the heavens, the astral plane teems with excitement and possibility. With the help of magic known to spelljamming, you can cross the oceans of wild space, ply the silvery void known as the astral sea, and hop between worlds of Dungeons & Dragons multiverse. SpellJammer Adventures in Space contains everything a Dungeon Master needs to run adventures and campaigns set in the starlit realms of wild space and the astral sea, as well as new options for players who want to create characters at home in this fantastic setting. Contents: the Astral Adventures Guide, a 64-page hardcover book that includes space-based character options, check plans. Okay, we actually covered all these in the little peek that I talked about last time. Boo's Astral Menagerie, a hardcover book that presents game stats and descriptions for creatures found in wild space in the astral sea, including astral elves, cosmic horrors, lunar and solar dragons, murder comets, and space clowns. Light of Xerxes, a hardcover adventure set in the astral plane and designed for characters of level 5 to 8. A double-sided poster, map of the Rock of Brawl, an asteroid city that can serve as both an adventure location and a campaign hub in the astral plane, and a sturdy 4-panel Dungeon Master screen. Dang, I kind of really want to keep this, but I know it's just a useless slip sheet. Okay, I'm going to set this down over here. Little piece of trash. All right. Now, let's look at this big hefty thing. Look at the camera. This is really nice. As my first, I guess, officially bought kit from Wizards of the Coast, I mean, for those of you who know me as it is, the few of you who do watch this, I do appreciate y'all being here. I am a sucker for official canon and official lore and everything. I mean, homebrewing's fun, but I don't know, I appreciate the original stuff. Ooh, bump that. Just look at that. The thrilling space-based adventure. And of course, we got Boo and Minsk down there. Oh, it looks like I may have gotten bumped in transit. Dang, that sucks. Because now I have 2 collector's edition boxes for WoW, and even those I try very hard to take care of. But still, this thing is sturdy. Alright, enough gawking. Let's finally open this up. Set you over there. Alright, so let's take a look at this first. I guess this is the DM shield. Ooh. Alright, this is the DM shield. I'm digging it. I'm loving it. Wait a minute. Aha, there's more. This thing is big. Okay, now let's actually look at the inside. I've never actually seen a DM shield before. This thing is expansive. Okay, so let's try to fold this. Okay. All right. We second EC difficulty. Okay, skills and associated abilities, acrobatics, dexterity. Okay, it's all there. Suffocating. You can hold your breath for a number of minutes equal to 1 plus your con modifier, minimum of 30 seconds. If you're out of breath or you're choking, you can survive a number of rounds each. Cause modifier, minimum 1 round. At the start of your next turn, you drop to 0 hit points and are dying. And you can regain hit points or be stabilized until you can breathe again. Weightlessness. In any location where gravity is not present, the following rules apply. Impeded melee. When making a melee attack with a weapon, a creature that doesn't have a flying or swimming speed, either naturally or provided by magic, has disadvantage on the attack roll unless the weapon deals piercing damage. Movement. A creature can use an action to push off something heavier than itself and move up to its walking, flying, or swimming speed in a straight line. The creature continues along this course, moving in a straight line at its speed on each of its turns until something stops it or changes its trajectory. Okay, let's look at this. The astral plane. Let's get that a little closer for y'all. We have the wild space system, astral dominion. There is a dead god. Of course, there are a number of random dead gods just floating out in space. Wild space system. Let's see, we have doom space. That's wild space system. Astral dominion, wild space system. Another dead god, wild space system, astral dominion, realm space, wild space system. So yeah, I guess for those of you who don't already know about space in general, you can think of, in the way that we handle space, you can think of the astral sea as a whole pretty much like the whole universe. And each of these systems is, of course, an actual bubble, but you can consider them as actual solar systems, like how we have with all of our planets in the nearby vicinity. That's a rough approximation. I would definitely urge you to do some detailed research into it, but it is interesting to learn about. See, we have air and gravity, gravity plane, 80. Oh, and yes, of course, there is no air in space, but it is not a true vacuum the way we have it. And as long as you have a pocket of air, you can go anywhere. Pretty much go anywhere. If your pocket of air does get tainted, then that's going to be a trouble to deal with. That's a good little nautiloid picture. All right, astral encounters. You can generate a random encounter with astral plane by rolling on either the wild space encounters table or the astral sea encounters table. Creatures marked asterisk appear in Boo's Astral Menagerie. The rest are described in the monster manual. Any creatures marked with a dagger can serve as a SpellJammer because it is a spellcaster. If a humanoid has no specified race, it can be of any race you choose. Initial attitude to randomly determine initial attitude. Okay, attitude roll lower hostile. Well, these are nice down here. I I really hope that in one of these books down here, we have actual like lore for all of these creatures, because in my little talking podcast series that I started, and that's a very loud cicada outside. In my talking podcast series that I kind of started for y'all, that I need to get back into, I was trying to go over all of the old, interesting, creatures and stuff that you would find out in wild space and start inside of the old setting, which was back in the 80s, the 60s. I don't remember the actual release date for that right now, but it's been a good number of decades. Not that I'm old or anything. Let's see, we have Chunga astronauts, cosmic horror, ethics, eyemonger, fear, giant octopus, Kandori, Kraken, lunar dragon, murder comets, brown scavengers. Yeah, they're all here. Starlight version. There's a few that I don't recognize, but then again, a lot of those old books going through the PDF, there are lots and lots and lots and lots of creatures and races throughout space that you may never get a chance to meet. Ship encounters. Okay, let's see. We have Flying Fish Ship, Hammerhead, Lamp. These are all pretty. Yeah, they're all the original ships. Nautilus, Neurophage, Scorpion Ship, Shark Ship. Alright, ship to ship. Bumping that too much. Starting distance. At the start of an engagement, decide how far a ship is from its enemies. 3 possibilities are provided in the table below. The shorter the distance, the less time crews have to load weapons and make other preparations. Long range for ballista, magnet, short ballista. Okay. 250 feet, 500, 1000. Okay. Then crashing. When a spell jamming ship crashes into a creature or an object that could reasonably damage it, both the ship and the creature or object it struck take bludgeoning damage based on the size of the struck object, as shown in the table below. Okay. If a ship runs into something that doesn't have hit points, such as a planet or a moon, apply the damage only to the ship. The ship stops after crashing into a gargantuan or immovable creature or object. Otherwise, the ship can continue moving if it has any movement left, and whatever it struck moves to the nearest unoccupied space that isn't in the ship's path. Okay, let's see. Now, as for an actual ship, you do have to maintain stuff, and it looks like we have some stuff detailing that. Shipboard tasks. During the uneventful part of a voyage, the captain of a spelljamming ship can put crew members to work in several ways. If a character is looking for a job to do, or if a captain wants to keep a character busy, roll on the shipboard task table to determine what needs to be done. The time it takes to complete a task is at least 1 hour, and certain tasks might take longer at your discretion. And we have anything from scraping barnacles off the hull, all the way to preparing a tasty dinner for the captain's table. Let's see, ship quirks. Roll on the ship quirks table if you want to add a bit of personality to the ship. A chatty but harmless spirit haunts the cargo hold. The air envelope has a salty, briny smell. Bulkheads throughout the ship have lines of poetry scrawled on them. A creature seated in the ship's spelljamming helm hears faint spacefaring chanties in its mind, except when the ship is under attack. Okay? I love that. Ship cargo. To randomly determine what the cargo hold of a spelljamming ship, roll 1d6 times on the cheap cargo table and 1d4 plus 1 time on expensive cargo table. A duplicate results indicates that the ship has more of the same cargo. If a cargo container is locked, at least one crew member, typically the captain, has the key to it. A character can try to unlock a container using thieves' tools, doing so with a successful DC 20 dexterity check. So, 10 outfits of a traveler's clothing, a locked cage containing one friendly beast of your choice, 40 gallon barrels of ale. Alright, and then expensive cargo, things like a crate containing 50 blank spell books, locked case containing an exquisite dragon chest set made of crystal or ivory, 10 20-pound kegs of gunpowder. Okay. And this, sorry for that little interruption. This is our DM shield. I like it. This is really nice. I was expecting it to be like a little taller, but I guess this is pretty good as it is. Let me see, how tall is this actually? Get an actual ruler. So this is, what, about 8.5 tall? Yeah, that's nice. That's not bad. And then each panel is about 11. And so let's take a step back real quick. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 panels. That's 44 inches. Okay. All right. I dig it. Put those away. And now we're going to touch the books. Ooh. This is nice. They actually put effort into the printing. And with my background in the printing industry, like I can tell how things are made, and this was made very well. So along the black here, we have it actually textured, and it feels almost like, you know, really light sandpaper. It's just really nice and textured. And then over here, we have a really smooth matte finish. I shouldn't be chatting like this. I'm sorry. Astral Adventurer's Guide. Set sail for the stars. Welcome to the astral plane, the starlit realm that surrounds the worlds of Dungeons and Dragons, multiverse, hop aboard, spelljamming ship, and set a course for adventure. And that is a murder comment. The Astral Adventurer's Guide is intended for players and can explore spelljamming setting. This book contains the following: background, race for other characters, spells, magic items, rules for running campaigns, ship descriptions, deck plans, the Rock of Brawl, an astral city that serves both an adventure location and campaign hub. For those other books and setting. Alright. I dig it. And we got a massive nautiloid. All of the pictures I've seen of nautiloids throughout the years, it's really hard to tell the scale of some of these ships. I mean, Baldur's Gate 3 recently with Larian, I mean, they're doing a pretty good job showing that scaling. But I know old lore, there are specific dreadnought ships for the Illithids, and those things, I don't remember if they're canon or not, but I remember comparatively they were pretty massive. I think about 20 times larger than an actual nautiloid. But let's open this up. Stay open, please. We got credits. We got down here on the alternate cover. I think there was a few of these that were released with different pictures. I know I've seen the Descent into Avernus ones. Those were pretty nice. And I wish I had gotten one of these. And on the cover, we have Bruce Benici depicts the nautiloid traveling through wild space, undoubtedly transporting mind flayers to an unsuspecting world. Oh, and yeah, quick reminder. The Illithids, they're basically world conquerors. Or at least, you know, we know in general from the new BG3 lore that yes, they once ruled practically everything, but I mean like old lore in general, Illithids, they would roam from planet to planet, you know, doing their thing. And ooh, a cottage on a Kendori. That I don't think I came across in the old lore. But hey, that is a space whale pretty much, right? And I'm pretty happy about that. I have a little group with my friends that I nicknamed Space Whales, and that's been there for a number of years, so this just makes me so happy. We have contents, we have terminology, using the books, character, options, background, shift, raw space, astral adventuring, gravity planes, magic, rock or brawl. Okay. It's definitely going to take time to go through this entire book, so let's just pick apart a few specific things and then see the other books. So choosing book, let's look at. Let's breeze through that real quick. Vast Oceans of Adventure. Ooh, that's nice. God, they did really good with the artwork. Space-faring adventure leaves their Dam's fly ship behind and explore a new world in pursuit of their latest quest. And yes, there are plenty of astral elves, but there are also, of course, these special people. And plasmoid astral Detroit. I don't think plasmoids were in the old one, at least not that I immediately recognize. Okay, so when you create a character for campaign, we have... Okay, so backgrounds, Astral Drifter. For longer than you could remember, you have traversed the Astral Sea. There, you experienced firsthand the wonders of the Silver Void. You stopped aging and no longer felt hunger or thirst. Driven by wanderlust, you drifted from one part of the Astral Sea to another, like a mote of dust on the wind. You have lost count of the decades that have passed since you arrived here. In your travels, you have camped on the petrified hulks of dead gods, and narrowly escaped the psychic winds that sweep across the Astral Sea, while also avoiding prolonged contact with the plane's most dangerous denizens. Skill proficiencies with Insight and Religion. Languages, 2 of your choice, Celestial or Gith, are recommended, because of course Gith are a very real force out there, and Celestial is just a good thing to have considering where you are. Equipment, a set of traveler's clothes, a diary, an ink pen, a bottle of ink, and a pouch containing 10 gold pieces. Longevity, you are 20d6 years older than you look because you have spent that much time in the Astral Sea without aging. And of course, quick context, if it isn't obvious already, inside of the Astral Sea, in addition to there being no air, but at the same time the pocket of space doesn't work like our space, people who live there do not age. And I think they don't eat either? Don't quote me on that. I don't remember specifically. I just remember it's a little tricky. I learned the details of it from the old Gith lore, and their way of living kind of illustrated to a degree the life that a lot of spacefaring folk have. Feature, Divine Contact. You gain the Magic Initiate feat from the player handbook and must choose Cleric for the feat. In the Astral Sea, you cross paths with a wandering deity. The encounter was brief and non-violent, yet it made a lasting impression on you. This deity saw fit to share one secret or obscure a bit of cosmic lore with you. Work with your DM to determine the details of this knowledge and its impact on the campaign. And we have a Divine Contact table, so roll Divine Contact to remember which deity you encountered, or... This is interesting for, homebrew lore creation, I guess. Actually meeting these specific gods out in space would be, in my opinion, very unorthodox, but also very interesting. Corlan, Tamara, Farglan, god of horizons of travel. Istis, god of fate and destiny. Nuada, god of war and warriors. Evelyn, god of wisdom. Arwan, god of life and death. Hecate, god of magic and moons. Celestian, god of stars and wonders, and Ptah, god of knowledge and secrets. Okay. And also one thing to remember is when you're out in space, you can actually, when you're traveling between the spheres, there are, of course, different pantheons you can actually meet if you travel to those crystal spheres. And then the second one we're going to go through, and I'm not going to try to read all of it, I'm going to try to just touch on a few things. We have a Wild Spacer as the second background. You were raised in the void of wild space, home to asteroid miners, moon farmers, and other hardy folk. Perhaps you grew up in a far-flung settlement such as the Rock of Brawl, or you spent your early years on the crew of a spelljamming ship performing helpful chores such as swabbing the decks, loading and offloading cargo, and scraping barnacles off of the hull. Whatever your history, life in wild space has toughened you so well that you are as brave as a miniature giant space hamster when it comes to facing the terrors and other challenges of the airless night. You are proficient with athletics and survival. Your proficiencies with tools are navigation and vehicles. Your equipment is a belaying pin, I guess that's a club, a set of traveler's clothes, a grappling hook, 50 feet of hempen rope, and a pouch containing 10 gold pieces. Close encounter, you have a harrowing encounter with one of Wild Space's many terrors. You escaped with your life, but the encounter left you with a scar or two, or perhaps a recurring nightmare. Roll on the close encounter table to determine which creature nearly got the best of you. Creatures marked with an asterisk appear in Boo's Astral Menagerie. The others are described in the Monster Manual. A Beholder, Cosmic Horror, Fae, Blue Dragon. Okay. An Yogi, that would be a pretty bad one to have a run-in with, considering the lore behind them. They're pretty awful. Feature wild space adaptation. You gain the tough feat from the player handbook. In addition, you learned how to adapt to zero gravity. Being weightless doesn't give you a disadvantage on any of your melee attack rolls. And then races. Okay, the important stuff. Chapter describes 6 race options available to players with the DM's consent. And of course, homebrewers, DMs, you are free to use whatever race you want within reason if you can, in my opinion, create story for it. But as far as the book goes, we have the Astral Elf, an elf denizen of the astral plane who is possibly hundreds of years old, an auto gnome, a mechanical gnome who has free will, Gif, not similar pronunciation but very different, a hippo-headed being of impressive size, a Hadozi, a simian being who adapts well to the hazards of wild space, a plasmoid and amoeba-like person, and a Thri-Kreen, a telepathic insectile being. Githyanki are natives of the astral plane. If you want to play one, use Githyanki race option as presented in the Monsters of the Multiverse. Okay, so now we have all of the generic info as we have with most books. And now we have the actual details of said races. And I'm just going to probably touch on a few things here and there. So we have our astral elves. Long ago, groups of elves ventured from the Feywilds to the astral plane to become closer to their gods. Life in the Silver Void has imbued their souls with a spark of divine light. That light manifests as a starry gleam in an astral elf's eyes. Because nothing ages on the astral plane, astral elves who inhabit that plane can be very old, and their longevity gives them an unusual perspective on the passage of time. Some are prone to melancholy, while others might display an absence of feeling. Many look for creative ways to occupy themselves, whether they choose to live in quiet contemplation or strike out to explore the reaches of the multiverse. Astral elves tend to see things through the lens of time as having little or no meaning to them. Astral elves who don't dwell on the astral plane can live to be more than 750 years old. Okay, and it looks like they have a lot of standard stuff, and I guess something new would be Astral Fire? You know, one of the following cantrips of your choice, Dancing Lights, Light Sacred Flame. Okay. So I guess the naming threw me off, but everything else seems normal. Okay. And then we have Auto Gnomes. Yes, you can now canonically make a campaign party of Autobots if you so choose. Auto Gnomes are mechanical beings built by rock gnomes. Sometimes because of a malfunction or a unique circumstance, an Auto Gnome becomes separated from its creator and strikes out on its own. An Auto Gnome bears a resemblance to its creator, and most Auto Gnomes are programmed to speak and understand Gnomish. The internal components used in an Auto Gnome's manufacture can vary wildly. One Auto Gnome might have an actual beating heart in its chest cavity, while another might be powered by stardust or intricate clockwork gears. Roll in the Auto Gnome history table, or choose an entry that you like to identify what event set you on the path to adventure. If nothing on the table appeals to you, work with your DM to create an origin story. Like gnomes, Auto Gnomes can live for centuries, typically up to 500 years. Okay, and looks like some of the history we have: special mission, felt trapped, so you abandoned your creator, glitch, etc. Okay, these are pretty nice. Let's just breeze through this real quick. Success, one attack roll, ability check, healing machine. If the mending spell is cast on you, you can spend hit die, roll it, or regain number of points. Mechanical nature, you've just position it. These are nice. These are pretty, I would say, very specific. If you have a very specific purpose, the Auto Gnome might be the choice for you. You are a construct. You are small. Now we have the actual GIF. GIF are tall, broad-shouldered folk with hippo-like features. Some have smooth skin, while others have short bristles on their faces and the tops of their heads. As beings of impressive size and unforgettable appearances, GIF are noticed wherever they go. Most GIF believe they originate on one world, but their home world is now the stuff of legend, because no living GIF has seen it or knows where it is. The divine beings who created GIF have likewise been forgotten. Their titanic, petrified bodies drift on the astral sea, isolated and unrecognizable in their current forms. Although they don't realize it, GIF are drawn to the astral plane because on deep psychic level, they remain connected to their creator god, who have just enough divine spark left in them to imbue GIF with sparks of their own, which GIF have learned to channel through their weapons. Most GIF have no idea where the so-called astral spark comes from, but they feel its presence most strongly when they are in wild space or the astral sea. GIF are split into two camps concerning how their name is pronounced. Okay. Half of them say it with a hard G, and half with a soft G. So GIF or GIF. Oh my god, they did not. GIF and GIF. How dare they? I love it. Disagreements over the correct pronunciation often blossom into hard feelings, loud arguments, and head-butting contests, but they rarely escalate beyond that. Humanoid, medium, astral spark. Let's read this real quick. Astral spark. Your psychic connection to the astral plane enables you to mystically access a spark of divine power, which you can channel through your weapons. When you hit a target with a simple or martial weapon, you can cause the target to take extra force damage equal to your proficiency bonus. You can use this trait a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, but you can use it no more than once per turn. You regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. Okay. And if I remember correctly, dead gods floating out in space, they're not, I would say, 100% dead. Like, imagine your phone battery just went all the way down to 1% and it refuses to go to 0. But while it's at 1%, it's pretty much in a state of hibernation. So it's still there, it just can't do anything. And I believe that's what that's referring to with them having a divine spark connection. But it is kind of interesting that they can directly have their own through that source. Firearms mastery, hippo build, strength saving throws. All right, big strong hippo people. They're my favorite so far over the elves, honestly. Next we have Hadose. The first Hadozis were timid mammals no bigger than house cats. Hunted by larger natural predators, the Hadozi took to the trees and evolved wing-like flaps that enabled them to glide from branch to branch. Several hundred years ago, a wizard visited Ysir, the Hadozi homeworld, with a small fleet of spelljamming ships. Under the wizard's direction, apprentices laid magic traps and captured dozens of Hadozi. The wizard fed the captives an experimental elixir that enlarged them and turned them into sapient bipedal beings. The elixir had the side effects of intensifying the Hadozi's panic response, making them more resilient when harmed. The wizard's plan was to create an army of enhanced Hadozi warriors for sale to the highest bidder. But instead, the wizard's apprentices grew fond of the Hadozi and helped them escape. The apprentices and the Hadozis were forced to kill the wizard, after which they fled, taking with them all remaining vials of the wizard's experimental elixir. With the help of their liberators, the Hadozis returned to their homeworld and used the elixir to create more of their kind. In time, all Hadozi newborns came to possess the traits of the enhanced Hadozis. Then, centuries ago, Hadozis took to the stars, leaving Ysir's fearsome predators behind. In addition to being natural climbers, Hadozis have feet that are as dexterous as their hands, even to the extent of having opposable thumbs. Membranes of the skin hang loosely from their arms and legs. When stretched taut, these membranes enable Hadozis to glide. Hadozis wrap these wings around themselves to keep warm. Okay. Very interesting. For a moment, I was thinking the lore of this sounded eerily similar to certain parts of the Stargate series, but then they changed it up, so I'm a little happy about that. Let's breeze through this real quick. Dexterous feet as well as action. You can use your feet to manipulate an object, open, close door. Okay. Gliding, 5 feet horizontally. When you wound damage, you can use your reaction to reduce the fall damage to 0. Okay, this is pretty useful. I bet these would be pretty good for rogue classes. Cozy Resilience, the magic that runs in your veins, heightens your natural defenses. When you take damage, you can use your reaction to roll and add your proficiency bonus to the numbered roll and reduce the damage you take by an amount equal to that total. This is definitely a very rogue-centric race. Plasmoids. Oh! We have a space hamster. And for those of you who don't know, there are many different types of space hamsters out in the world, and not all of them are miniature. Plasmoid. Okay, these are the last 2 for the races, and then we'll breeze through everything else. I'm trying not to linger on each book and read you everything verbatim. I want to hit the important stuff between them. Plasmoids are amorphous beings with no typical shape. In the presence of other folk, they often adopt a similar shape, but there's little chance of mistaking a plasmoid for anything else. They consume food by osmosis, the way an amoeba does, and excrete waste through tiny pores. They breathe by absorbing oxygen through another set of pores, and their limbs are strong and flexible enough to grasp and manipulate weapons and tools. Although most plasmoids are translucent gray, they can alter their color and translucence by absorbing dyes through their pores. Plasmoids don't have internal organs of the usual sort. Their bodies are composed of cells, fibers, plasma-like ooze, and clusters of nerves. These nerves enable a plasmoid to detect light, heat, texture, sound, pain, and vibrations. Plasmoids can stiffen the outer layers of their bodies to maintain a human-like shape, so they can wear clothing and accessories. They speak by forcing air out of tubular cavities that constrict to produce sound. When plasmoids sleep, they lose their rigidity and spread out, and are thus sometimes mistaken for a rock or some other feature of the environment. Okay. Now I'm just curious about their actual origins. They didn't actually put that in there. Let's breeze through the traits. We are considered an ooze, medium or small, speed, amorphous, you can squeeze, okay, dark vision, hold breath for 1 hour, okay, that's nice. Natural resilience to acid, poison, okay, and then shape self, okay. Interesting. 3 Kreen. Something tells me these guys changed a bit since their old lore. 3 Kreen have insectile features and 2 pairs of arms. Their bodies are encased in protective chitin. They can alter the coloration of this carapace to blend in with their natural surroundings. Although 3 Kreen don't sleep, they do require periods of inactivity to revitalize themselves. During these periods, they are fully aware of what's happening around them. 3 Kreen speak by clacking their mandibles and waving their antennae, indicating to other 3 Kreen what they are thinking and feeling. Other creatures find this method of communication difficult to interpret and impossible to duplicate. To interact with other folk, 3 Kreen rely on a form of telepathy. You are considered a monstrosity. Okay, so I guess that's more of... I always thought monstrosity was tied to like big monsters, but I guess it's more so abnormalcy instead of size. Let's see, medium or small, speed, chameleon carapace. While you aren't wearing armor, your carapace gives you a base armor class of 13 plus your dex modifier. Ooh. Initial thoughts, maybe a 3 Kreen barbarian or 3 Kreen monk might be something pretty nice. Ooh, as an action, you can change the color of your carapace to match the color and texture of your surroundings, giving you advantage on dexterity stealth checks made to hide in those surroundings. Okay. We have dark vision, secondary arms, your 2 slightly smaller secondary arms below your primary both of arms. The secondary arms can manipulate an object, open, close doors, container, pick or set a tiny object, wield a weapon that has the light property. Okay. So I would say in regards to holding light weapons, I would say talk to your DM on how you want to handle a 4-armed being using multiple weapons. And then, of course, 3-creen telepathy. Let's see, without assistance of magic, you can't speak the non-3-creen languages you know. Instead, you use telepathy to convey your thoughts. You have magic ability to transmit your thoughts mentally to willing creatures. Ooh, that'll be tricky. All right, the official races have been breezed through. A hammerhead ship collides with a tyrant ship in the Astral Sea. Okay, now let's just flip through and see what we can find. We have the details of how spelljamming works, air envelopes, duels between ships. We saw this earlier. The air envelope explained in detail, and that's good. Air quality is very important. Overlapping air envelopes, gravity planes, overlapping gravity planes, drifting. Then we have falling, okay. Tracking time and want space, will be interesting. This will be interesting, okay. Annunciation. Local time varies from world to world and from one wild space system to the next, depending on rotational periods, custom, and a host of other factors. Astral travelers often rely on what is considered the standard way of keeping time. A standard day is 24 hours long, a standard week is 7 days, a standard month, 4 standard weeks, 27 days. The typical method for determining the length of a year, the amount of time passes during a complete cycle of the seasons, has no meaning or usefulness for individuals who spend most of their time on the astral plane. For this reason, astral travelers avoid using years as a measurement of time. That's interesting. I also like how actually accurate that is, because of course all planetary drift is going to be different. Our astral plane picture from before. Details about the astral plane, creatures in the Watson system, traveling between worlds, temperatures, astral sea navigation, travel by thought alone. The creature doesn't need a vessel to travel through the astral sea. In this realm, a traveler has the option of propelling itself by thought alone. The more intelligent a creature is, the faster it can move. A creature that chooses to move in this fashion can move in any direction at a flying speed in feet equal to 5 times its intelligence. Traveling. Astral dominions and dead gods. Okay, let's take a look at this real quick. Many gods have dominions in the astral sea. These locations typically take form of floating islands or cities of fantastic proportions. Astral travelers might visit these dominions as they would any other port of call, though a dominion's divine ruler always knows when visitors have arrived and what their intentions are. Because these dominions are part of the astral sea, they are timeless. Nothing ages there, and creatures can survive there indefinitely without food or drink. The astral sea is also where one can find the petrified remains of gods who were slain by more powerful entities, or who lost all their mortal worshippers and perished as a result. A dead god looks like a gigantic, nondescript stone statue that bears little resemblance to the divine entity it once was. Githyanki, Mind Flayers, Tsorlons, and other natives of the astral plane sometimes turn these drifting hulks into outposts and cities, many of which are hollowed out beneath the surface. All right, now that's really interesting, because that's also connection to the Githyanki leader. She is currently digging her way into a dead husk, trying to find a divine spark to turn herself into a deity. And we're talking about this in the past, and I think this needs to make a comeback officially. And I would love to see it in some capacity, whether it's through BG3 or something else. Let's see, we have astral fishing. Fishing is a popular pastime in wild space and the astral sea, though this activity is impossible aboard a ship that is moving faster than its flying speed. Wild space element. At the end of each hour spent fishing, a character can make a DC 15 survival check. A failed check indicates no fish caught during that hour. Okay. Catch tiny and edible fish, small edible, space eel, gray scaver. Okay. And then weightlessness, we saw that a little bit earlier, impeded melee. Air bubble spell. Oh, I like that. So of course the details of the weightlessness, we have magic functions in the astral plane, as it does in most other D&D settings. The following sections present spells and magic items that are popular amongst astral travelers. So common things like air bubble, create SpellJammer helm. That's a rough one, because there's supposed to be one race that can actually make helms, and I don't think they shared their secret with anyone officially. So that'll be interesting to see interpretations of. We have the air bubble, helm. Okay, holding the rod. Okay, so that's just the creation of it. Magic items, fish suit. A very rare wondrous item is a fish suit. This bulky suit, which fully encases your head and body, takes 1 minute to don or doff while worn. It enables you to breathe in an airless environment and renders you immune to the harmful effects of any gas that surrounds you. The suit also grants you a swimming speed equal to your walking speed while underwater, or a flying speed equal to your walking speed in an environment with no gravity. Okay, interesting. We, of course, have SpellJammer helms, which they can be literally anything. It just depends on the guy that made it. And these, of course, are needed for flying your ships. Okay, let's go through this real quick. The function of this ornate chair is to propel and maneuver a ship on which it has been installed through space and air. It can also propel and maneuver a ship on water or underwater, provided the ship is built for such travel. The ship in question must weigh 1 ton or more. The sensation of being attuned to a SpellJammer helm is akin to the pins and needles effect of one experiences after one's arm or leg falls asleep, but not as painful. While attuned to SpellJammer helm and sitting in it, you gain the following abilities for as long as you maintain concentration. So you can use the SpellJammer helm to move the ship through space. SpellJammer helm moves the vessel faster than... Okay, so that's just the actual travel distance. Steering the vessel. And anytime... Okay, here's an important one. At any time, you can see and hear what's happening on and around the vessel as though you were standing in a location of your choice aboard it. Okay. And then transferring attunement to willing participant. Okay. Cost of a SpellJammer helm. A SpellJammer helm propels the stew's ships, which creates SpellJammer helm described that has a material component cost of 5,000 gold pieces. So that's the least one can pay to acquire a SpellJammer helm. Wild space merchants, including Dowars and the Mercanes. I wonder if they mean the Arcanes. I wonder if they rewarded them to being Mercanes. Typically sell a SpellJammer helm for substantially more than it costs to make. How much more depends on the market, but 7,500 will be reasonable demand. A desperate buyer in a seller's market might pay 10k or more. Okay. Wild Space Ori, wondrous item. Portable arcane device automatically tracks positions the movement of all suns, planets, moons, and comets in the system, projecting a display of all these bodies in a space above the current location. In that display, a white pulsating pinprick of light marks the orrery's location. Okay, I guess it's like a map. Whew, my neck's hurting. Alright, while using an astral projected spell to traverse HD, Mordenkainen, the wizard, happens upon a SpellJammer ship. Okay, and then we have details for actual SpellJammer crew and combat. Boarding, crashing, ship repairs. Oh, this is the fish suit. Okay. Very fish-like. Ooh, that's a good ship. Bombard, ballist. Okay, actual deck plans. Ooh, this thing is supposed to be nigh unkillable and can literally eat anything. Names fly ship, ballist. Oh, we're actually going through each individual ship. Okay. So that ship is called the Bombard. Okay. These are built by the Hippo people of the GIF. And then the names fly ship Floating water, lazy. Dame Sly ship owners are a proud lot, fond of painting their ships in colorful patterns, as well as customizing their vessels with special equipment. Flying fish ship. I think these are one of the original standards. Aside from a space galleon, flying fish ships are the most common vessels. Okay. Hammerhead, another one of the originals. Popular craft among pirates and merchants carrying heavy cargo. Yep. These babies are meant to hold a lot of stuff. They're a lamprey ship. Ooh, that looks... What's very interesting. Lamprey ships are antiquated, being among the oldest spelljamming ships still in use. Sirloins are particularly fond of them, using the metal grappling jaws built into its bow. The lamprey ship can attach itself to another ship. Okay. Which is a critical feature during boarding actions. I would love to see more detailed lore about as to why that is. The way it looks. But of course that just could be an effect of floating through space. A living ship. Okay, let's see. Look at this. Druids, rangers, and clerics devoted to gods of nature are often found aboard living ships, and as are wild space explorers who don't want to have to worry about their ship's air envelope becoming fouled during a long voyage. This ship's main distinctive feature is the fully grown tree ant on the aft deck. The tree ant has a speed of 0 because its roots are woven into the deck. It and the ship are inseparable. If the ship is reduced to 0 hit points, the tree ant dies of shock. The ship can function if its tree ant dies, but the tree ant can never be replaced with another. When the tree ant finishes a long rest, it repairs the ship's hull, enabling the ship to regain 40-12 hit points and refreshes the ship's air envelope. Nautiloid. Oh, we already know all about these guys. Look at that. That is great. Used by the Illithids. I think these are the only spelljamming ships that also do not need a spelljamming helm. Yeah, for those of you who are playing Baldur's Gate 3, you know all about these guys. The Night Spider. This is a ship for the Neogi. Okay. These vessels often wait to ambush other ships. Its crew consists of 19 Neogi and half a dozen Umber Hulks. I talked about the Neogi recently in one of the other videos, and oh boy, they're yeah. You don't want to cross them. If you do, be prepared to fight. And then Starmoth. That's very interesting. Starmoths are ships constructed and flown by astral elves who don't like it when these ships end up in the hands of others. Yeah, during one of the recent videos I did, I talked about, a bunch of mana warships by ancient astral elves came together. So going from old black and white photos to this, I think it's a lot easier to kind of imagine how a big mana warship would look now. Its hull is fashioned from a grown and sculpted organic substance, and its enormous decorative wings are made of shimmering crystal. I love it. Seems a bit smaller though than the others, but nothing wrong with that. Turtle ship. Oh, this is great. Look at that. Turtle ship is encased in a protective metal shell as befits its name, and bristles with weapons. In addition to its roomy quarters, it can carry a decent-sized payload, popular among traders and others who need a lot of cargo space. No. I don't think these used to be a thing. Okay. Beholders carve tyrant ships out of stone using their disintegration rays and use these ships to wander the astral plane, looking for worlds to conquer and rival beholders to destroy. No two tyrant ships look alike, but they all have one or more features reminiscent of their creators, such as bulbous shape and eye stalks. And the Rock of Brawl. I assume the rest of this is all detailed for that. The adventuring hub for this new campaign. There's only one rule on the Rock of Brawl. Leave your vendettas at the docks. As the President, life on the Rock, keeping order. I'm probably going to have to make a side video devoted just to the Rock of Brawl. Ooh, I'm loving this. Elmendar's star charts is run by a retired elf adventurer who once served as the SpellJammer aboard a space galleon called the Eclipse. I'm sorry for the shine. That's wonderful. That looks great. I've been talking for a long time. I am so sorry. And Middle City, the Don John. Oh, okay. That's something to look at later. Najiki, proprietor of the Happy Beholder, is delighted to meet his new patrons. Oh, okay. So we have a friendly beholder running a tavern? I love it. Historical Enclave, the Citadel Fields. Ooh, we have... This is the actual map. That's the end of the book. This is the actual map. Oh my goodness. Ooh, this thing is big. The Rock of Brawl, topside. Library Sphere. This is great. We got a big old hub. This is awesome. Got a little thing in the corner too. The artwork for this is also just great. Top side, and then, ooh, okay. And this is the underside. Okay, yeah, because I guess this is a big old rock. Gravity isn't exclusively one way. Fields, naval base. This is great. This is wonderful. Okay, put you away. All right, that is that. I went on way too long, but if you're still here, I hope you enjoyed that. There's definitely more in there to read. All right, and now we are moving on to the Light of Xerxes. Sarixis. I'm going to say Sarixis. It's probably pronounced wrong, but I've done my best. This looks really good. Saviors of the Multiverse. When a cosmic enemy threatens to destroy their world, brave heroes must do everything in their power to save it. This quest will take them across the teeming oceans of wild space to the silvery void of the astral sea and beyond. Along the way, they'll make friends, encounter terrifying foes, and face one cliffhanger after another. Can they save the world before time runs out? Alright, let's open this up and see what is inside. Ooh. Princess Zidali. On the cover, Prince Zeleth. You're not an astral elf, are you? Prince Zeleth astride a solar dragon. Wild space awaits. Adventure summary. This story revolves around the characters' efforts to save their homeworld from an attack by an empire of astral elves. Okay, I was right. The attack is underway when the adventure begins. After taking refuge aboard a spelljamming vessel, the characters head for the stars to discover who is responsible for the attack and how they can save their world. During the adventure, the characters encounter many space-dwelling creatures, some of which become companions on the party's voyage. The characters also meet Princess Zidali, an astral elf who is embroiled in a power struggle with her twin brother, Prince Zeleth, over who will rule the empire that currently threatens the character's world. With or without Zidali's help, the characters must assemble an unlikely alliance to strike at the heart of the Astral Elf Empire. The characters encounter many grandiose locations as the adventure unfolds, including an asteroid city known as the Rock of Brawl, and the imperial citadel of the Astral Elves, which orbits a star called Xerxes. Xerxes, the light of Xerxes, has nourished the Xerxian Empire for millennia, serving as a wellspring for the magical power that the Astral Elves of the Xerxes space used to sustain their empire. 1,000 years ago, the star's light began to fade, threatening the elves' prosperity. So, Emperor Zavan turned the dying star into a parasite that leeches life from worlds using crystal seeds harvested from the star. This almost sounds like something else, but I can't quite remember what I'm trying to remember. After the elves select a suitable host world, ships known as star moths release hundreds of astral seeds into the planet's atmosphere. The seeds fall from the sky and bury themselves in the ground and the ocean of the world. After the astral seeds take root, they produce enormous crystalline vines. The tendrils of these vines extend deep into the world and draw life energy from it. Once the vines have sapped a world of its energy, a process that can take months, they send out a bright beam of light that travels back to Xerxes, temporarily replenishing the star's radiance and leaving the host world a barren husk. Although Xerxes shines brilliantly after each replenishment, it isn't long before the light of Xerxes begins to wane once more, presaging the doom of another world. Once astral seeds have taken roots on a host world, there is no easy way to stop the transformation. The vines are too thick and too numerous to be uprooted. Destroying the star of Xerxes, which acts as a lodestone for the astral seeds, is the only way to free a world from their grip. If the star goes dark, the crystal vines release their stored energy back into the host world, shrivel, and die. Alright, so... oh my goodness. For a moment, I was thinking this looked like a Klingon ship. Oh my goodness. A Xerxian star moth jettisons one of the many astral seeds while orbiting an unsuspecting world. Adventure structure, we have the Seed of Destruction, Tears of the Void, character's journey edge of the wild space, Chaos and Doom Space, begin the party's arrival in Doom Space, to Savior of the Multiverse describes searching space and the character's climactic encounter with the Prince and the Armada under his command. Pure subtle. Alright. So we have rules for running the adventure. Ooh, that's some good artwork. A space galleon flees a world in peril. Inspiration, starting the chapters. Princess and Dolly, okay. Character creation. Between levels 5 and 8, we saw that earlier. Seeds of Destruction, Part 1. Chapter 1, Astral Rain. As the adventure opens, the characters are going about their daily business in a bustling coastal settlement where everyone is talking about the spectacular meteor showers that have blazed through the sky the past several nights. In fact, what folks have witnessed are showers of astral seeds falling from space and plunging deep into the ground and water in and around the settlement. Some of these seeds have now germinated. The adventure begins when enormous crystalline vines erupt from beneath the streets, throwing the community into chaos. Chapter 2, Attack of the Star Moth. What is this? Flapjack? Captain Elena Startel. Oh my goodness, okay. Driven from a coastal settlement by gigantic crystalline vines, astral blights, and earthquakes, the characters secured passage aboard the Moondancer, a galleon under the command of Captain Elena Startel. The ship then rocketed into space. Okay. As the Moondancer leaves the planet's atmosphere and enters wild space, the captain sets a course for the Rock of Brawl. Now is the time for you to determine where the Rock of Brawl is situated relative to the character's homeworld. Once you've determined the Rock of Brawl's location in wild space, Estimate how many days it will take for the Moondancer to get there. If the adventure began on Toril, the Rock of Brawl is one of several asteroids orbiting the planet, and getting there takes only a few hours. Otherwise, assume the rock orbits another world, or is situated in a nearby asteroid belt and requires several days to reach. In this chapter, the Moondancer is intercepted by an astral elf vessel shortly after leaving the character's world, but the characters have time to finish a short rest before the enemy ship arrives. Before running this chapter, familiarize yourself with Chapter 2 of the Astral Adventures Guide. Keep the deck plans for the Space Galleon and the Star Moth handy because they will come into play. Okay, so we have a lot of info for the Moondancer. The captain herself operates out of the Rock of Brawl as a privateer under the commission of the city's ruler, Prince Andrew. She assures the character that they'll be safe there. Once her ship docks at the Rock of Brawl, Captain Stardale plans to offload the characters and the ship's other passengers. This act marks the extent of her willingness to help the character. Okay, we gotta read this one. Flapjack the Flump. Oh my god, he looks so glorious. One crew member stayed aboard the Moondancer while it was in port. A flump named Flapjack, who serves as the ship's SpellJammer. Flapjack has the following additional action options: spellcasting. The flump casts one of the following spells requiring no material components and using intelligence as the spellcasting ability. At will, Mage Hand, Minor Illusion, 1 to each, Magic Missile, and Unseen Servant. Chapter 2 ends. Chapter 3, Treacherous Salvage. The characters escaped their endangered world with the help of Captain Sartell and her ship, the Moondancer, and ran afoul of an astral elf ship called the Star Moth. After surviving their first wild space encounter, the characters resumed their voyage to the Rock of Brawl. Along the way, they made a terrifying discovery, a Mind Flayer ship lurking among the asteroids. The Lucent Edict is... Okay, so that's the name of this Nautiloid ship. The Lucent Edict. Tears of the Void, Part 2. Okay, so it looks like this is the port for the Rock of Brawl. A friend indeed. En route to the Rock of Brawl, the characters discovered a derelict nautiloid drifting in an asteroid field. Only too late did they realize that another, more dangerous ship was lurking nearby, waiting to spring its trap. Oh, the Nyogi really are a vicious species that you do not want to run into out in space. Night Spider dead ahead. Okay, I guess that's their ship. Yeah, we went over that earlier. That's one of their racial ships. So as the Night Spider approaches the Moondancer, or after a few rounds of battle, if you decide to allow the characters /read. So, I guess during the fight, suddenly 2 galleons glide into view and begin pummeling the Night Spider with ballista bolts and mangonel stones, forcing it to break off its attack and make for the cover of the asteroids. The newly arrived space galleons are the Stalwart and the Incorrigible, both under the command of the lawful neutral Githyanki buccaneer named Darvik. Alright. Chapter 5, Living on the Edge. The Xeraxian Empire attacked the characters' world, forcing them to take refuge on the Rock of Brawl. There, they met a sympathetic Gif named Crux. Aboard his ship, the Second Wind, the characters headed to a wizard's tower on the outskirts of wild space where Crux hopes to acquire a map. En route to the tower, the Second Wind was attacked by Hastane, an evil ally of the Xeraxian Empire. And that would be her. Okay. Chapter 6, Grave Alliance. After acquiring a wild space orrery at Topola's tower, the characters fought a void scaver named Big Mama. After that battle, Topola mentioned a possible ally in the fight against the Xeraxian Empire, a pirate named Grimzod Garganhale. Amid a cosmic storm, the characters laid eyes on Garganhale's flagship and its vampire crew. Ooh. Grimzod Garganhale. Ship of the Dead. The Last Breath is a space galleon that has been reduced to 90 hit points. Unless the characters take defensive measures, the galleon comes close enough for its captain to be heard. Is a chaotic neutral vampire. Vampirate. Oh my god, I love that. I didn't notice that a minute ago. I noticed it now. Vampire, pirate, vampire. That's great. He strikes a dramatic pose as he addresses Crux and the characters towards whom he is friendly. Under Captain... Okay. He lost his left hand in a sword fight years ago, which he calls Lefty, and he later reanimated that hand as a crawling hand. Then this disembodied hand can play instruments and communicate using simple gestures. If Tupela is in sight, Captain Garganhale's posture briefly slumps like that of a wounded animal. He then puffs out his chest, raising his eyebrows in her direction, and adds the following. Do my lifeless eyes deceive me? Tupela, my darling, what a surprise! If you've come to drive a stake through my heart, you'll have to return it first. Oh, this guy's great. Introductions. Parlaying with the captain. The pirate code. They're more like guidelines. Grimzod Garganhale expects those under his command to abide by the following rules. Don't eat each other. No crew member shall partake of other crew members' flesh or their blood. No hymns. Many crew members' ears are sensitive to holy praise. Okay. Cowards' consequences to those who abandon their post or shirk their duty shall be marooned. No shipboard conflicts. All disputes shall be settled on land. At your discretion, Captain's Code can include additional rules, perhaps of your own design, or as suggested by the characters. The princess. Oh, hello! Oh, this is marvelous. This is some great artwork. Honestly, like, campaign aside, this is a great character portrait. Like, honestly, anyone who's watching this, y'all should definitely snag that for your own character. She looks wonderful. Chapter 7, Trust Issues. To save their world from the Xerexian Empire, the characters embarked on a dangerous voyage across wild space. Along the way, they joined forces with a Gif Commodore, helped a vampire, its captain, quell a mutiny, and rescued a princess from the brig of the vampire's ship. Not just any princess, but the daughter of their enemy. And she is a chaotic neutral astral elf aristocrat. Wears a ring of shooting stars and is initially friendly towards the characters. She shares following information with the characters if she learns about the attack on their world. We both want the same thing, revenge. As my father lies on his deathbed, my scheming brother Zeleth denies me my birthright. He seized control of my father's navy, banished me from court, and left me in the clutches of his sycophants. He orchestrated the attacks on your world, bombarding it with astral seeds harvested from Xerxes, our dying star. Once the crystal vines have drained all the energy from your world, they will discharge that energy in a beam of light back to Xerxes, replenishing it. Zeleth instructed his minions to deposit me on your world so that, as I died, my energy could contribute in a small way to the light of Xerxes. Fortunately for me, my ship was disabled aboard and boarded by vampirates. Help me become Empress, and I will undo the damage Zeleth has already caused your world. Ooh. Alright, I'm gonna have a fun time digging into this deeply and then regurgitating it in a digestible form for you guys to learn about these people and everything that's actually going on in detail. Because as it is, this is first look, first reading. Whew. So we have role-playing guides, everything to show you. Wild System Doom Space. Doom Space in a nutshell. Thousands of years ago, a war between gods and primordials ended with all gods being banished from Doomspace. After the war, the primordials encased the system in a crystal sphere that kept the gods at bay. After being kept out for eons, the gods finally found a way to shatter the crystal sphere, but no one knows exactly how. The destruction of the sphere filled the outermost region of Doomspace with the crystalline shards as big as asteroids. What happened next isn't known for fact, but speculations abound. Some say the gods appeared before the leaders of Fyrene and Malas and demanded to be worshipped. When they were rebuked, the gods vented their fury by collapsing the sun, leaving behind a spiraling vortex called the Eye of Doom. Those who deny the existence of gods refute these claims and turn to ancient myths for explanation. Perhaps the angry sun was slain by a primordial foe taking the form of a comet, or perhaps the sun was the shell of a great dragon's egg that finally hatched, and the so-called Eye of Doom is the hatchling's hungry maw. The Doomspace table and the accompanying diagram provide an overview of this wild space system. Chapter 8, Arena of Blood. Eager to join a coalition against the Xeraxian Empire, the characters arrived in Doomspace to find the system on the verge of collapse. Commodore Crooks led his crew to Aran with the goal of finding an old comrade named Warwick Blastimov, who was tasked with organizing a coalition in advance of taking the fight to the enemy. And here is Vokath. Okay, so just based on the image, he's an arcane, or if they changed the naming, a mercane. Okay, so Vokath the mercane. Vokath evacuated hundreds of Arakorka humans, 3 Kreen and Suran from the doomed world of Fyrene, then sold jamming helms to them for next to nothing. All the factions strive to earn his favor. Okay. So I'm going to confirm that. They changed the race called Arcane to be Mercane, which is honestly better because having the word Arcane as a race name is vocabularily confusing sometimes. Chapter 9, Discord and Diplomacy. And that is Prince Zeleth. Okay, so yeah, they're twins. To build a coalition against the Xeraxian Empire, the characters came to terms with a mercane named Vokath and fought monsters for his amusement. At the end of the final battle, Prince Zeleth and the Xeraxian Empire appeared on a dragon, determined to take Princess Zidali into his clutches. The session opens with Princess Zidali trying to keep her hopes alive while protecting everyone around her from the wrath of her brother. Prince Zeleth, who has Vokath's base surrounded. Zeleth has come for his sister. If Zidali is either dead or presumed dead, obtaining her ring of shooting stars is enough to satisfy Zeleth because he can use it as proof of Zidali's demise. If Zeleth gains custody of Zidali or claims the ring as proof of her death, his fleet withdraws from Doomspace, allowing the characters to renew their efforts to unite Doomspace factions against the Xeraxian Empire. Zeleth's attack on Vokath's base is proof of the threat posed by the Astral Elves, giving the factions a common enemy. Oh, maybe it's not a Gith. Saviors of the Multiverse. Ooh. This looks, at first glance, eerily similar to Marvel's Valhalla. Or not Valhalla, I'm sorry. You know what I mean. We got to see that city in Thor Ragnarok. Forgive me, I can't remember the name right now. Chapter 10, Space Invaders. After the Xeraxian Empire attacked their world, the characters journeyed to Doomspace and formed a coalition With a fleet of ships accompanying them, they set out for Xerxes space, encountering a red dragon and its rider along the way. Knights of Tu Narath. Okay, so the Argothianki dragon riders. God, I used to remember what Tu Narath was also. So then we deal with that. We get to Xerxes space. We attack the Citadel. Our city is mapped out. Chapter 11, Crowning Moment. Determined to save their world, the characters travel to Xerxes space with a fleet of ships at their command. But nothing could have prepared them for the armada of enemy ships and the host of solar dragons guarding the magnificent citadel of Xerxes space. Though the battle's lost, hope remains. The character's arrival at the Imperial Citadel coincides with the funeral of Emperor Zvan, when Zadali challenges her brother's claim to the throne and names the characters as her champions. The heroes must do battle with a Zodar to decide who will rule as the next emperor. Okay. So this is where this begins. Citadel has more mapping for the Temple of Light. Winds, we have text for that. Chapter 12, The Lights of Xerxes. The Xerxian Empire bombarded the character's world with astral seeds, which sprouted into crystal vines that began harvesting the planet's energy. Determined to save their world, the characters fought their way to the Imperial Citadel orbiting Xerxes, where the next emperor of the Xerxian Empire was declared. Regardless of which sibling ascends to the throne, the new emperor orders the execution of... What? The new emperor orders the execution of the characters. Before that can happen, the Zodar intervenes on the party's behalf using its wish spell to restore the characters to full health. Spicy. And now we commit to destroying a star. Now coming back. To destroy Xerxes, someone bearing a ring of shooting stars must travel into the heart of the star either by ship, 3-day voyage, or astral font's light beam. It is, everyone realizes, a journey from where there is no coming back. If no characters volunteer for this mission, Grimzod Garganhael does so. If the characters allow Grimzod to sacrifice himself, he says, "I hope you all appreciate the irony of a vampirate flying into the sun." He then entrusts his crawling claw to Topola, saying, "Let it never be said that Grimzod Garganhael failed to give a lovely lady a hand." I love this man so much. And we have reached Journey's End. The destruction of Xerxes causes the crystalline vines to crumble. The heroes have saved their world. Death of a star. When Xerxes is destroyed, read this. The star flares, becoming 1,000 times brighter. Moments later, it is gone. Shock waves of multicolored energy expand outward from the collapsing star, threatening all in their path. The shockwaves destroy everything in Xerxes space, but don't extend into the astral sea. The characters and their NPC allies have enough time to board a ship and use its spelljamming helm to reach the astral sea before the shockwaves can catch up with them. Conclusion. The character's return voyage can be as eventful or uneventful as you like. As for the character's world, its fate is inexorably bound with the fate of Xerxes. Xerxes is spared. If Xerxes was not destroyed, the characters return home to find their world on the brink of annihilation. As the planet begins to fracture, the characters might decide to help evacuate and resettle survivors on the other worlds of their system. Xerxes is destroyed. If Xerxes was destroyed, the characters return home to find the crystal vines that were choking the world have shattered and collapsed. Among the world's inhabitants, shock at the sudden reprieve has given way to relief and jubilation. The destruction of Xerxes forces what's left of the Empire to take refuge in the Astral Sea, where the Astral Elves still have numerous ships and strongholds. Zeloth and Zadali had one clone apiece. making it likely that at least one sibling will survive the adventure with a hunger for revenge. I don't think I remember cloning being a thing in the past, or if it was there, I never got to look into it. Further adventures. This section provides a couple suggestions for how you can continue this campaign. Beyond the Eye of Doom. Is the Eye of Doom in Doomspace a gateway to a new wild space system? One or more NPCs encourage the characters to mount an expedition to discover what lies on the other side of the vortex. Back to Brawl. If the characters return to the Rock of Brawl, tales of their heroism travel quickly to the Palace of Starhaven, where the characters are invited to meet Prince Andrew. Oh my god, they named this guy Andrew. Okay, I glossed over that too quickly earlier. Perhaps the Brawlian monarch has a quest for them. These are good little suggestions. The end question mark. I need a more expansive book about everything in here. I need something thicker. I need more. You hear me, Wizards of the Coast? I need more. Okay. Whew. My back is tired from standing and holding these, but it is so worth it. Look at this beautiful man with his beautiful hamster astride this great and mighty beast. The Astral Menagerie. A collection of space-dwelling creatures. What is this? Oh, these are interesting. They came from outer space. The astral plane holds more than the promise of adventure among the stars. It is also home to some of the most fantastic creatures in the multiverse. Boo, the space hamster whose adventures with Minsk the Ranger are legendary, presents this compact collection of cosmic creatures to populate your adventures. It's intended for Dungeon Masters and has stats for more than 60 creatures. All right, let's open it up. Oh my goodness. My man. Oops. Did you know that originally Minsk and Boo were only added to the original Baldur's Gate games because one of the creators, that was his character in a D&D campaign he was doing. He just asked one day, hey, can I add my D&D character to our game that we are making? And they're like, yeah. Little did he know he created one of the best characters in the history of D&D. Oh, that alternate cover is great. Hydro74, you are a wonderful artist. No nonsense glare of Boo, the multiverse's most famous space hamster. And that back is a cosmic horror. On the cover, Justin Gerard again, Ranger and his stalwart companion Boo, and space flying through what space? Oh, that's a solar dragon? God, that's marvelous. In the original, SpellJammer stuff, we have a few menagerie type books that are spread out throughout the internet. There are some that have pictures, and they just look like basic dragons. This is great. Ship of Space Clowns. Oh no. Well, they don't look like clowns, so we'll see. Creatures A to Z. Oh, there he is, Boo the space hamster. What a beautiful boy. Take heart, fellow adventurers, for you have curried the favor of Boo. Squeak. Boo is a hamster. More precisely, he is a miniature giant space hamster. A rather famous one, in fact. Boo's adventures with Minsk the Ranger, as well as his ferocity, are legendary. But Boo would be the first to tell you that he is just one of the countless amazing creatures that hail from the starry realm known as the astral plane. Apparently, giant space hamsters aren't as bright or as legendary as their smaller cousins. That is true. Canonically, only the little ones are actually smart. Minsk has shared this information and a host of other pieces of lore from Boo freely and loudly during his travels. This book presents as much of that lore, but don't expect commentary from the famous hamster himself. He's too busy saving the multiverse and, as Minsk might put it, kicking butt for goodness. Oh, you guys do Minsk and Boo proud. Unusual attacks and magic. Some creatures have weapons that deal unusual damage types for spellcasting that function in an atypical way. For example, many astral elves deal extra radiant damage with their weapon attacks. This extra damage isn't a feature of the weapon, such as an exception is a special feature of a stat block and represents how the creature uses its weapon or casts its spells. The exception has no effect on how a weapon or spell functions for a different creature. We have a generic list of everything. So let's just briefly call these out. Actually, no, we're going to see all of them anyways. Astral encounters. Ooh. Artuk. Are these? These are starfish, space star monsters. Warrior, priest, elder. Artuks are intelligent plant creatures, okay, that live to wage war. Beholders destroyed their original homeworld and scattered the survivors across the material plane. The survivors formed small nomadic cells. Okay, we got deep information for astral elves. Thank you, wizards. Thank you. Aristocrat commander. This art is still just so great. And we can actually see, like, their architecture and armor and everything. That is great. It's like thinking about standard elves on Toril and just how, standard of an elf, their homes and their armor and everything typically is, like that being the elf standard. Thinking in comparison how the drow beneath them adapted and changed and looked different. It's like, in an astral way, the astral elves kind of ascended in a different direction like the drow did. And I just mean this purely from an aesthetic standpoint. I think it looks great. Astral Elf Commander. Astral Elf Honor Guard. Then we have Star Priest and Warrior. That's not a... What? Any alignment? Do you have your god in here? I'm curious. So that may just be nothing in particular. I want to say Selena, that's probably not right. Okay, we have the auto gnomes. An auto gnome is a mechanical gnome that resembles the rock gnome who created it. Okay, we kind of glossed over that earlier. We have the Chewinga. Okay, we saw this on the back on the back cover. What are you? They're tiny elemental spirits that adapt easily to any habitable environment. These gentle creatures protect nature, considering themselves as its humble custodians. Chewingos live inside plants, rocks, and springs far from civilization. They resemble 6-inch tall animated dolls with mask-like faces, spindly limbs, and wild hair. They don't have names and can't speak. Oh, that's cute. Cosmic Horror. Ooh, are you an aberration? Yeah. Gargantuan aberration. I love me a good aberration out in space. Cosmic horrors are colossal, malevolent entities that occasionally slip the bonds of the far realm and find themselves adrift in the astral plane. Drawn to the light of distant stars, these creatures invade wild space systems and lay waste to worlds. After feeding on the minds and bodies of a world's inhabitants until it is sated, a cosmic horror usually returns to the void, where it falls into a deep sleep, drifting aimlessly until hunger or some other stimulus awakens it. Cosmic horrors are among the most powerful creatures spawned by the Far Realm. No two of them have the same appearance, but they have certain qualities in common. Each one is roughly 100 feet long or tall. Ooh, that's big. Like, for comparison, as a human, I'm 6 feet tall. I'm a fairly tall guy. This thing is 100 feet tall. That really is gargantuan. And its physical form is seemingly impossible conglomeration of eyes, mouths, wings, tentacles, and less recognizable organs and appendages. That sounds about right for an aberration. Doe. Are these penguin people? Small Fey and Elamit. Doars are short, pudgy, flightless avians that look and move like penguins. Yes, we got penguin people. They are inveterate merchants, always looking for an opportunity to turn a profit. Doors conduct their dealings in secrecy, preferring to do business in dark alleys and out-of-the-way places, even when the item being bought or sold aren't illegal or dangerous. They tend to dress in a garish mishmash of clothing, but many of them also shroud themselves in hooded cloaks. A group of dwarves is called a cartel. Oh my god, this is so cute. I love it. Alright, lovely GIF, hippo people. GIF. Ooh, somebody should homebrew a war, a civil war among this race about the pronunciation of their name. That'd be wonderful. So it's easy to spot them. They are burly folk who are 7 foot tall, hippo-headed people. They are most often encountered as spacefaring mercenaries. We have a shock. Ooh, that's. We have a shock trooper and a warlord. We have the Githyanki, one of the stars of the new game, with Larian leading the way. They are descended from ancient people who were also the progenitors of the Githrazai. That is another side race I hope to see somewhere else in here. These tall, gaunt folk have potent psionic powers and dwell, for the most part, on the astral plane. Among the best-known Githyanki are the followers of the Lich Queen Vlaakith. They terrorize the astral plane, raiding into wild space to plunder the multiverse of its magic and its riches. The Monster Manual and Monsters of the Multiverse contain a variety of Githyanki for you to use. This section provides additional options. Xenomancer, Buccaneer, Star, Kindori. That's what these are. Oh, these beautiful, beautiful space whales are called Kindori. They are among the largest creatures found in wild space. They resemble aquatic whales in general shape and are mammals as well. An adult specimen can be up to 80 feet long. So yeah, I talked about this in one of my past videos. There are actual space whales. I guess they have been rebranded as a gargantuan celestial creature called a Kindori. Kindori. They lack mouth, leading body. Oh, this makes me so happy. I should make a video comparing old lore to new lore for a lot of these. Ooh, okay, we got a good picture. This is a lunar dragon. Lunar dragons, also known as moon dragons, or phase dragons, are capricious, xenophobic creatures that make their lairs inside desolate moons by burrowing through rock. Before laying eggs, the female dragon stalks her lair of food. She will leave the lair again. They enjoy depriving other creatures of treasure more than acquiring the treasure themselves. Often found among the treasures in a lunar dragon's hoard are one or more spelljamming helms. I love it. This is wonderful. We actually have, finally, a canonical illustration of a lunar dragon. and a solar dragon. This is great. This makes me so happy. Wow, they're very bone-like. Regional effects, I found hunting moon devils. Okay. Young lunar dragons. Oh, you look so cute. Mercane, here we go. This is the guys I was talking about earlier. Large giant, typically an awful neutral. In the old lore, these guys were the single creators and distributors of the spelljamming helms. Mercanes are merchants who trade primarily in magic items and advanced technology, including artifacts and spelljamming helms. These 12-foot tall lanky blue giants dress in elegant robes, just twice my height, and have elongated heads and long spindly fingers. They use spelljamming ships to cross the Astral Sea and travel from world to world within wild space systems, where they conduct most of their business. It's rare to see more than one Mercane at a time, though it's common for Mercane to be accompanied by underlings or bodyguards. The Nyogi. Ooh! I think they took some old artwork and recreated it. Because this looks good, but it also looks super familiar. Yeah, the Nyogi, they're spider-like people. They're naturally very evil. Yeah, okay, typically lawful evil. They're tiny aberrations, but in general, they use their powers to just subjugate and enslave other races. They're basically evil merchants. Like I say, Nyogi looks like an outside spider with an eel's neck and head. It can poison the body and the mind of its targets and can subjugate even beings that are physically superior. Nyogi usually dwell in far-flung locations on the material plane as well as on the astral plane and the ethereal plane. They left their homeworld long ago to conquer and devour creatures in other realms. During this era, they dominated Umber Hulks and used them to build sleek, spidery ships capable of traversing the multiverse. Whew. Solar dragons. Ooh, that's amazing. That is fantastic. A solar dragon, also known as a radiant dragon or a sun dragon, is born in the heart of a star. It divides its time outside its lair between patrolling its territory and hunting for food. The dragon has a serpentine body, a pair of ventral limbs ending in long fins, nebulous wings that give off light, and gleaming multicolored scales. It can see clearly even in blindingly bright light. Ooh, I'm definitely making a separate video about the dragons and the other big things in here. Adult solar dragons, solar dragon eggs, solar dragon wormling, space clowns. Oh my god. So maybe this is more of a group instead of a race? Oh Lord help me. Space clowns are the inhabitants of a wild space system known as Clown Space. Oh my god. The humans who once inhabited the system's 3 ring-shaped worlds placed their faith in a god of revelry. Their worship ceremonies were centered on festivals and frivolity. Over time, the people's happiness hinged on the ever-increasing consumption of an elixir called Thrill Joy. Oh man. Only after they became addicted did they discover that the priests of their faith had distilled the elixir from demonic ichor and the nectar of the bozo flower. Oh. Eventually, Thrilljoy transformed the faithful into fiendish creatures and blessed them with clown-like appearances. Oh, this is horrendous. Space clowns acquired their first spelljamming helms from the Dowar merchants. Really? The penguins helped y'all leave and go out into space. That's... those evil, tiny little birds. Okay. Space clowns acquired... subsequent visits to other wild space systems led to contact with a multitude of other folk. In the wake of these encounters, love and fear of clowns has spread to all corners of the multiverse, just as the space clowns have done themselves. Marauding space clowns feed on humanoid flesh. Oh my god. Okay. I know there's some old cheesy horror films about clowns from space or something. If any of y'all have seen that, I'm gonna guess there's some semblance of there's some similarities with this. That's nightmare fuel. Forget the aberrations. That is nightmare fuel. And yes, space hamsters. Now, I know some of the older books actually had all of the hamsters illustrated and talked out. It looks like we only have 2 right now. Space hamsters resemble their terrestrial kin, both in their appearance and general demeanor, and they come in variety of colors. I did do a video covering these little guys a long time ago. There are a lot of them, and they each have different purposes. There was a whole societal description about these guys and how they work with their creators as basically livestock. They were good to each other. Space Mollymock, Space Swine. So these are bred by the doors. Variety of uses. Huh. I think this, there used to be some kind of celestial boar. I think this is the rework of that. Starlight Apparition. Ooh, we briefly talked about this earlier. The transparent projection of unfortunate souls who perished in wild space or in the astral sea are known as starlight apparitions. Each one has a luminous and corporeal appearance that resembles its former self, but with eyes that glow. A starlight apparition is different from a ghost. While the ghost is doomed to haunt the place where it died until some promise or goal it couldn't achieve in life is fulfilled, the goal of a starlight apparition is to help someone else avoid or overcome a perilous obstacle or accomplish a difficult task. A starlight apparition comes into being when the soul of a deceased individual from its resting place in the afterlife projects a spectral copy of itself across a vast distance with the help of a deity or another powerful celestial entity. The apparition lasts only as long as its services are needed to complete the task at hand. Then it fades away, never to return. See, I love this. I love this bit of mysteriousness that can be had within SpellJammer settings. And it looks like this is the end of the menagerie. I will definitely need to pick out a whole lot of these and compare them to the old ones and just see how they've changed. The last one is a Zodar. I remember these guys were pretty beefy. A Zodar is a bipedal entity whose body is encased in an obsidian exoskeleton. It has no facial features aside from 2 narrow vertical slits that resemble eyes, and its countenance betrays no hint of pain or emotion. Underneath its armored exterior, a Zodar's body is composed of tightly knit muscle fibers that make it incredibly strong and heavy. A Zodar weighs 1,500 pounds. No one knows how many Zodars exist or where they came from, but the most popular hypothesis is that they are the creations of some long-forgotten god. Zodars interact with other sapient creatures in a manner that goes beyond mere aloofness. They simply hover in silence. When a Zodar finally performs some significant action, the reason for that actions aren't always clear. One interpretation of this behavior posits that each Zodar has a specific mission and is relentless in its pursuit of the goal, but it reacts oddly to situations that don't involve its mission because it doesn't know what else to do. Another theory is that all Zodars are working in concert to achieve some master objective. A third, less ominous idea is that the Zodars lost their sense of purpose when their creator vanished, and they are struggling to find their new role. A Zodar can cause speech to issue from the air around it on 3 occasions in its lifetime. When it feels compelled to speak, it chooses its words wisely. It can also warp the fabric of the multiverse to cast the Wish spell as its final act. It is destroyed once the spell is cast. Whew. That was a lot of talking. Oh my goodness. For those of you who dared to stick along with me during this whole ride, I thank you. To anyone that made it this far, I apologize for how long this video has become. In hindsight, now that we're at the end of it, I am gonna make a smaller video going over the main, reveal and just chatting about these books. These things are amazing. I do apologize for taking this long. I wanted to do an unboxing video. I was, I guess, 2 weeks late versus everyone else who may have gotten theirs early or something. But I wanted to do it anyways. I love this setting. I wanted to see what Wizards had to offer for new content for 5e. And I'm craving more. I like heavy details, and I wish that they would put out, I mean, maybe there's something in D&D Beyond that I didn't see. All right, it's all in there now. Maybe there's something in D&D Beyond that I'm unaware of, but I am still pretty happy with this. This is a great thing that I hope everyone gets to enjoy. What was y'all's favorite part? I mean, I primarily love that we got to see the dragons actually illustrated. I like that certain species and races seem to have been converted for 5e, the writing at the time of the original SpellJammer to now. I like how that's different. The space whales have an actual name. The lizard folk got changed. The Zodar seem the same. The murder comet got changed. I think that got changed. I might be remembering a different aspect of it. There's a lot in old SpellJammer, like a lot. It's, when I was making those little videos talking about everything, you wouldn't even be able to imagine how much I had to sift through just to make something digestible and talkable for you guys. So in hindsight, thank you for sticking through this video if you did. If you're happening to see this on the short video, I hope you enjoyed, and I am glad you didn't have to suffer through the mega video. If you didn't want to look at it, that's completely fine. So if you guys have already gotten your copy, and I just got mine 2 days ago, sadly, I've been busy, I've been away, life is doing things. So if you have your copy, I hope you guys are having fun, and I will be making more videos. I have been away for far too long. So until next time, I hope you all have a good one. Stay safe out there. See you next time.